Hey there, Nick Janatakis here. In this video, we're going to take a look at using Tailkit, which is a Tailwind CSS UI component package that has over 300 fully responsive backend and marketing UI components, layouts, and pages. By the way, this is not to be confused with Tailwind UI. These are two totally separate products made by two totally separate teams. Although in this case, we probably will do some comparisons. For example, Tailwind UI and Tailkit are both paid products. So in this video, we're mainly going to go over things like what it's like to use Tailkit. Was it worth buying? How much time did it save? What was it like actually implementing some of these fully baked components into my own custom web application? And what's really neat about that though is when it comes to Tailwind UI and Tailkit, these UI components, they're just a combination of HTML, Tailwind CSS classes, and maybe some JavaScript depending on the component. So it doesn't matter if you're using something like Flash, Django, Rails, Node, Phoenix, Go, Laravel, or a static site, it's all the same because you can just copy paste these things into your app, make some tweaks if you need to into whatever templating language that you have, and you are off to the races, which is really nice. So in addition to that, I've also talked to the author of Tailkit, and he is going to give us 2 copies to give away. So stay tuned for details of that later on in this video. Also, as a disclaimer, I was given a free copy of Tailkit to make this video. But before you bail and just think this is going to be another biased sponsored post thing, that's just not how I roll. And there's an interesting backstory to this one as well. So, if you've watched any of my other videos on YouTube, you know that I don't even monetize them with ads, as well as never doing any sponsored posts or solicited content on my personal blog for the last 6 years. Now, the interesting backstory about Tailkit is one, I was actually going to buy it with my own money. I just didn't have an active project to work on. 2, the company Pixel Cave, they created Tailkit, by the way. It's just run by John and Stella. They are life partners who just team up together to make a whole bunch of themes. But anyways, when it comes to the Pixel Cave here, they had a whole bunch of different Bootstrap themes before Tailwind CSS was a thing, or Tailkit as well. And I've purchased at least 15 of their themes for myself, no strings attached, with my own money, didn't ask for anything in return or anything like that. That was for my own personal work as well as recommending them to clients. I even dropped in a really long review here. They didn't ask me for anything. I didn't ask them for anything. But yeah, I'm happy to write reviews for things that I like. Likewise, I actually would have made this video for free in the sense that I have no problem buying Tailkit myself. But whatever, the timing was absolutely right on this one, where I was resuming building my custom course platform, which is using Tailwind CSS, by the way. And it just so happens the author messaged me and was like, hey, by the way, Nick, do you want to do a video about Tailkit? And if you do, here's a free copy. So it was just great timing. And yeah, I just want to get that out of the way. And there are things I don't like about Tailkit. So we're definitely going to be covering the pros and cons in this video. So now let's start off on what this thing actually costs, right? So if you scroll down here to the pricing tables, you can pick up 1 license for yourself for 1 personal site. You can be open source work, commercial project, it doesn't really matter. You get lifetime free updates. Then there's also the unlimited plan, where it's the same thing as this one, except that you're actually able to use this on unlimited personal projects, open source, commercial projects. It's all up to you. And then there's the team plan as well. Now, what's super interesting about this lifetime free updates is, let's say that in the future, there's 20 new marketing UI components, right? Let's say there's 135 of them in a couple of months. Then you're going to get those updates for free. Now, what's really super interesting though, and this is a big difference between Tailwind UI, is if a completely new tier of UI components were to come out, let's say an e-commerce package with 147 different UI components, then if you bought this plan or this plan or this plan, then you are going to get that as a free update. You're not going to have to pay an upgrade fee to get whatever it happens to be. And if a 4th one comes out in a year or however long it is, then guess what? Lifetime free updates, you're going to get that one. So Tailwind UI, as far as I understand, works a little bit different in that regard. So if you go to their pricing tables here, it's you can either buy the application one separately or the marketing one separately, or you can buy them both together for a bundle discount for $249. Now, I know that Tailwind UI is working on an e-commerce package, but based on the information that we see here, it's probably going to mean that this price is going to go up because there's going to be a 3rd e-commerce bundle here that maybe you can just buy on your own. I have no idea what it's going to be like for existing customers who have already purchased one of these or the combo. I don't know, right? That's unknown information. But what I do know is it seems to be that this number will go up as more packages are introduced. Maybe there's going to be an upgrade fee. So just something to think about, right? But yeah, let's start just looking at some of these components. So, you can go to this live preview here and check all the stuff out on your own time. I am actually running a local copy here of Tailkit, and this is basically what happens after you purchase it. So if I hop over to my terminal here and I go to Tailkit here, once you purchase it, you just get a zip file that you can extract to somewhere on your computer, right? And then you can just run an npm install, and then you can do a run serve, and it's just going to pop open this web browser here. And that is what we're looking at here. So if I go to any one of these things like backend layouts here, let's say I want to go to like the dark sidebar, then all of this is working here. We can just go and just see how it's mobile responsive. Like the sidebar just goes away at a smaller view. Very nice. We have some drop down menus here. And again, like I really don't think it's going to be worth both of our time to go over like 300 of these components in detail, but I will take a look at some of these, right? For example, like, once you're getting set up with this, like if you want to just jump to the code, you can just go to the code here, copy paste this into your application, and you are good to go. Although this one in this case does require a little bit of JavaScript. There is currently Alpine support, but there is more coming on the way. And that is a very loud helicopter in case you didn't hear that. I just like shook the whole apartment. Anyways, going back to here, let's go over some of these, right? Because, we do have this backend UI and then we also have the marketing UI. But inside of here, the idea is like you have some layouts here, right? Here's like a light one with a sidebar. It's super easy, by the way, just to like move the sidebar to the other side. I'm actually doing that in one of my projects and we'll get a chance to see that one. But if we go back to something like components here, this is where things start to get interesting, right? So like, let's take a look here at some alerts, right? And these are pretty nice in my opinion, especially little things like this. So I'm a developer primarily, but I am not like a hardcore designer, right? Put me in a room with an empty white page and, I can put something together that looks reasonable, but there's certain things like this where something like this looks very simple, but doing it from scratch and actually making it look good is not as simple as you would think. So this is really where the value of things like Tailkit come into play, or Tailwind UI even, right? So it's like you have this nice little snippet, this little component here that you can just go to the code, copy this, drop it into your application, and now you have this exact layout here. If you want to change the font color or maybe put a different color or something, or the size, it's super easy to do. It's much easier to tweak something that's already made than making something from scratch. That's basically what I was trying to get out there. But there's like avatar ones where you can just do rounded or maybe put a little notification inside of them, a couple of them together. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of cool ones here. Let's see. I mean, there's no end, right? Even like dividers is pretty interesting. Like this little effect of putting text in between a horizontal rule with like a controllable amount of spacing or aligning it left. Like to me, this wasn't super obvious how to do. I actually ended up doing this in my application months ago, but it took me like an embarrassing amount of time, like an hour and a half of researching to actually get this. And if you start putting like an hourly rate on yourself, going back to here, right? It's like if I go down here to the pricing tables, if I'm spending an hour and a half to get a freaking divider working, like it's a little bit more better for me to just come here and buy like the one package thing and get access to that. Like I've already won just from this little like snippet of code here, which happens to be this. I believe he is giving away this snippet in his free preview, but in any case, yeah, I mean, it's so obvious and so easy when you look at it, but like when you don't have that solution, even after Googling for a lot, it just wasn't available. Yeah, it took quite some time to get that to work on my own. Interestingly enough, this ended up being a feature in Tailkit 1.4. That's the version that they just released recently, which is another interesting thing. So, if you go to like the changelog here, we can see how the update process happens to be. So for example, 1.3 came out in May 11th, 2021, where, these components were added, et cetera, some improvements, things got changed with like the starter kits or whatever. But then like 1.4 came out just recently, and, he added some more components here. So I don't know if the cadence is going to be like monthly releases, because there's another one in April here that added quite a lot more. But that would be pretty cool if we got new components and updates every month. But, it's not always that, because, it took a couple months to go from 1.1 to 1.2. That's up to them. But in any case, you can always go to the changelog to find out what changed. And it's very easy just to see what actually changed. Now, going back to over here, there's like form elements, like it never ends, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, for example, like these checkboxes are pretty cool looking. But yeah, there's so many to go over here. And I feel weird just like skipping over so many. But again, you can check all these out on your own. But now let's take a look here at some of the other things that you get as well, which is pretty interesting, because you don't just get all these components here, you get built-in pages as well. And likewise, same deal with Tailwind UI. It's a very similar concept in that you get pre-made pages, pre-baked components, maybe some layouts. Like for example, if you go to the sign up one, this is a pretty nice looking sign up form. What I really like about Tailkit is the way they style their buttons. So for example, you have a button that looks like this. You hover over it, it gets a little bit darker. But when you click into it, like the activated one, let me actually zoom in, maybe a little bit easier to see on video. But if I click into that, there's like a little border that goes around the button, and there's no like line, like a white line that makes it look like really weird. Like for example, I don't know, one of the examples for Tailwind UI, I think it just adds like a line around there and it looks strange, but to me, this looks like super awesome. And yeah, like if you wanted to make a sign up form that happens to have a password, then, you can use this as inspiration. Maybe you want to have a little bit more rounded corners here, maybe, I don't know, whatever you want, right? Like you can make these adjustments a lot easier. And what's really cool too about this one, this is set to be indigo, but you can always just go to the color palette here and be like, you know what, I want fuchsia or whatever color that happens to be, or orange or green or blue or purple or whatever you want, right? You can just do that. And then when you go to the code here, these are all going to be styled up to where they are using green in this case. So it makes it very easy just to copy paste things over how you want. But there's also like a sign up form as well, a little bit longer, a couple more fields. And then, things like password reset. And then there's like an installation one, which is like a 2-step form here, kind of nice looking. Then there's like a status page here too, which is pretty interesting. Maintenance page. Hey, by the way, like something is down. We're doing maintenance, come back later. And then there's a whole bunch of different errors here, right? Like 400, blah, 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 blah. These are pretty nice looking, right? I don't know. It has a very summer feel to it. And here it's like July, which is the summer in the Northern Hemisphere. I don't know if that's just like a bias in that, but I think these look pretty nice. And then for the marketing though, you get all sorts of different things too, right? Like the hero layouts here. Like again, like this stuff looks so obvious here, but doing this from scratch is actually not easy at all. But then we have a dark version of that, like a hero brand here. And there's also quite a lot more pages here too. Like for example, here's the home page where you can have, well, actually, I guess going through the sections would be a little bit better, right? So we have like a hero section here, but there's a whole bunch of different ones where you have nice headings with buttons. Maybe you can put a video in there, whatever you would like this type of stuff. Like I love this bordered layout. Like this is the most, not amazing thing ever, but it's like such a cool look. And I'm actually using that in one of my applications that we're going to see very soon. But again, I'm just scrolling through very fast here. You probably not going to be able to see it on video, but this stuff here, just like, pushing something to the right here with those little dots and a nice little thing here, like this little label balances things out. Like, yeah, so many subtle UI things that look really good when you actually look at them, but are very hard to make. And then you can just see the mobile responsive there where it just starts to go. And we can see things look nicely in all different setups here, which is pretty cool. Likewise, there's a dark version of it. And yeah, like the list goes on and on and on, right? I don't want to spend 20 minutes going through all of these, but what's really cool though is like, you can just take this, grab it, wherever you want. You already know that, I'm sure. I've mentioned that like 11,000 times already. But yeah, there's a lot here, right? There's like call to actions here, where there's just buttons, like this one is pretty cool looking. Yeah, grow your business now. Ready? Let's do it. Cool. And then there's like feature ones as well. I'm using these all over the place in a couple of these applications. I'm trying to find the one that I happen to be using. It's some variant of this one actually, although I decided to center these. And actually, yeah, so I don't know. Let's start jumping into some real stuff pretty soon. But I just want to go over the pages real quick here because these are pretty nice because, if you're developing something like a landing page for your company, then it's pretty hard to put together that page, right? The landing page is essentially something like this, where it just gives information about your product or service or whatever you happen to have, right? So what's really interesting is, we just took a look at some of those components there, but you can take a look at their Tailkit landing page itself, and you can start seeing some of these components actually being used on theirs, right? So this is like one of the hero setups here where you have like, the title, description, a couple buttons here, and there's like that really cool like angled effect here, like I'm also zoomed in a lot, by the way, just for the sake of the video, but all these little like snippets and components that we see, these are all available in Tailkit itself. And I don't know, this style of landing page to me is amazing. Like not this though, because like this handwritten font or whatever is pretty cool, but that's just like an image itself, right? But yeah, all this stuff here, like this type of layout stuff, like, it looks so good to me, so good. And yeah, there's so many more of them. And you just like pop your mouse over it and they do a little animation or transition. Like that's just a CSS transition as far as I know. Yeah, and then the pricing tables, you'll see if we actually go to this one over here, pricing, yeah, there's a pricing page here that just happens to have pricing tables that are very, very similar to what we just saw here, right? These are a little bit different looking. But what's really cool though, it's like, what is that phrase, like eating your own dog food or something, right? It's like all these components were designed that you can actually use, but the creators of Tailkit are actually using these on their own site. So yeah, that's pretty nice. I guess if we go to sections here and pricing, we'd see even more pricing table examples here. Like there's a small one with a little pill thing that you can go between monthly and yearly. There's like this one as well, which is pretty similar to here, slightly different icons and stuff, but very similar, right? Here's one with maybe 2 plans with a little bit more context on the left. And yeah, this one also looks quite nice. This one, if you have one of those like feature matrix or whatever, like this one is also awesome, right? If you just have a whole bunch of different features that you want to show off that you can just easily glance at. So I don't know, that's kind of interesting because if you look at the Tailwind UI page here, like in my opinion, this looks really nice as well, right? Like this is super sharp. I love that like gradient fade thing in the background. It just makes this like pop out in your face. But that doesn't mean like, wow, Tailwind UI is so much better. Like I would buy that one because this looks cool. But here's the interesting thing, like you don't actually get this when you buy Tailwind UI. Like this is Tailwind UI's actual page. So, so if I go to Tailwind UI here and go to try it out, I guess, and then I'm trying to find like where, okay, I'm gonna have to zoom out a little bit just so I can find this stuff a little bit easier. Yeah, I'm trying to find, let me go back even. Yeah, browse everything, I guess is what I want. So I'm trying to find pricing sections. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Let me zoom back in just a little bit. But, if you take a look here at Tailwind UI, like this is what you actually get if you buy Tailwind UI, right? You get this type of pricing table, which is cool too. Like no complaints here. This is kind of neat, right? I would like to see something like this inside of Tailkit as well. Like this is almost like, not like a checkout page, but like you can see like your final price on the left and we're on the right and then some description stuff there. But you can see there's nothing here that looks anything like what actually their own pricing table looks like. I mean, this one's a little bit similar, I suppose, but yeah, it just doesn't have that same dark look. But yeah, again, there's like another feature matrix one. So and this is also, I guess, like an interesting comparison too, right? It's like, you are allowed to buy both of these if you want, right? But I understand it's a pretty big ask, right? If you go to something here and you want to buy the whole package there, it's $250. And, if you want to buy a personal license here, that's 80 or maybe the unlimited, before you know it, you're approaching like, 200 plus 250 there, like $450. Like that starts to add up, right? Definitely for sure. So I don't know, they both have their pros and cons, right? Certain things I prefer from Tailwind UI, certain things I prefer from Tailkit. But yeah, going back to where were we over here? Yeah, there's a lot of different setups that I actually like and am using. Now, before we go into, let me see if there's any other pages, by the way, just to go over here. Yeah, like the contact page. Actually, this is a good transition into actually looking at some actual things that I've developed using this. So take a look at this contact page here. In my mind, this type of layout here is actually really cool. So it's very easy just to see all the form fields here, and you have a nice little button here with a little icon as well. And these are just hero icons, by the way. So for example, if I go to the extras here to icons, these are just the same hero icons that you would get at, I think it's just heroicons.com. Like I'll leave a link to that one in the description. But yeah, going back to this contact page here, super nice, right? Because a contact form doesn't need to be super wide. So it's really nice to have this little context of information on the left. And, put me on an island for like a million years and I'm probably never coming up with this exact layout here. But once I see it, I'm like, you know what? I actually like that. So now let's take a look here at an application that I have. Now, this is not anywhere near complete. This is me just like hacking away on my course platform. I'm actually using my Docker Flask example application on GitHub here, which is open source. I'll leave a link to that one as a base for this application as well. But if I go to the support page here, this is very, very similar to that contact page that we just looked at before. So just jumping back to the Tailkit one here, we can see, this is their contact form. And if I jump back over to the support page here, this is the one that I came up with. So very, very similar, right? There's way less fields on mine because all I care about really is the message and who to contact, from filling out this form here. But yeah, it's a very, very similar layout. And all I did was I just went to here, I grabbed the code here, copy pasted it in, and then just made some minor adjustments on some of the colorings and things like that. And, this is what it looks like. Now, I also have another page that I'm working on for some client work that I have anonymized their name a bit. But what's interesting is they wanted to do a dark theme. So, we took a look at some of the pre-made pages here with Tailkit, like we were talking about landing pages. So, I didn't customize any of the text here, but this is lifted straight up, like copy pasted from Tailkit, where we have this awesome little effect here with this. And, there's another component they had. Remember, theirs were left aligned. Interestingly enough, I actually think the centered one happens to look better. So John, if you're listening to this, you may want to include a centered version. Maybe. I don't want to step on any toes here. I'm not an actual designer. But in my opinion, having these centered versus left aligned looked a little bit nicer. But anyways, yeah, there's that. But there's the contact page as well. So yeah, this is the same exact contact page as this. Like this is the light version of it, and that is the dark version of it. And all I did was just, invert the colors a little bit, and there we go. This one happens to be using blue as the main color for the page, whereas this one is using indigo here. I don't know which one I'll use in the end. That's also a nice thing about Tailwind. In general, it's very easy to change these colors around. You can do a find replace in your code editor, or just map a color to a different color, or create the concept of like a primary color. It's not a big deal. But anyways, yeah, like this is the dark version of that contact page, which is pretty nice. There's other components also that I grabbed from Tailkit directly in this product, or project, I should say. So if I go to something, where is it? I think the dashboard. So yeah, I mean, I've anonymized all sorts of stuff here, but like, there was a component from Tailkit that basically gave you 3 images with a white border. And, I added this little label at the bottom just to make it a little bit, easier on the eyes. But like this little widget here, like the new upload, browse uploads, like this was lifted straight from Tailkit. I don't remember where this was. That feels to me like it's probably going to be a back-end UI component. Maybe it was under tabs, I think, actually. Let's see if this is the right one. Was it here? Was it here? Was it this? I think it was this one, default with icons. So is it that one? Yeah, it is this one. So yeah, all I did was change the icons and made the font a little bit bigger. And yeah, I mean, this is super nice, in my opinion, right? So this actually doesn't work if I click this, but if I were to click this, then new content would load below here. And likewise, yeah, like this menu is also taken from, I think this one actually was taken from TailwindUI, because TailwindUI gives you a couple of free components as well, and their navbar one was pretty nice, so I did grab that one here. But if I go to something like, let's see, maybe the settings. Yeah, so another component I took straight from Tailkit was the idea of this like sidebar. And there's very subtle things going on here. So like if I hover over any one of these, then we can see the colors changing, right? And I don't know if you can really pick this one up on like a compressed video, but if I click this and hold it, there is a difference between this background color and the actual background color of the page. It's like in between the hover color and the background color in color. So it's like, it just gives a nice little effect. And I'm also actually doing the same thing here. If I go to the settings, we can see here, like I'm hovering over it, different color. If I click, slightly different color, and then there's the background. And by the way, this is like a light version of a settings thing. But, this whole sidebar lifted straight from Tailkit also. So if I go to, is it navigation maybe? Yeah, so we can see, they have these set up here where there's the hover, there's the active, and if you scroll down here, here's like a dark variant of that one as well. This one's a little beefed up with like headings and stuff. It starts to actually end up looking like the actual UI they're using for themselves for Tailkit. And yeah, I mean, this is a really clean looking sidebar navigation in my opinion. And this one we can see we have a little bit of JavaScript required, and that just brings down a drop down here where you can do this type of stuff. And if you have something like a complex web dashboard or a back end, like imagine if you're developing like, I don't know, like a Shopify application or whatever, like literally Shopify itself, there's just a lot of stuff in the sidebar. I guess it's very similar to this, right? Where you have this type of thing. And yeah, really cool looking. And this is actually one of my favorite components. So I don't know, I'm a big fan of like the sidebar when it comes to stuff like this, where you just have a lot of things that you want to show off, because yeah. So going back to here, this is like a little color picker. This has nothing to do with Tailwind or Tailkit, but yeah, this is like a baked in color picker that actually does the reverse of the color to make sure it's always readable. Maybe I'll make a separate video on that one because that's actually applicable to any web framework. But yeah, going back to here, very similar, but here's a dark version. This little gradient thing wasn't from Tailkit. I actually did this one on my own, but I looked at some other pages for inspiration, and yeah, it took a long time to make that gradient, but it's pretty cool looking for like just a warning alert. But anyways, yeah, what other stuff can we look at on this page? There is no admin yet. Maybe if I go to sign out, I guess. Yeah, so there's like a little flash alert. Like again, this one was basic enough to where it wasn't taken from Tailkit or TailwindUI or anything. I just made my own flash color there. So, but if I go to something like sign in, yeah, this is just like a basic sign in page, like a dark one. And if I pop in, I think it's just my email address here to sign in. Check your email for oh, okay, it's actually my other email address, which is this one. Yeah, there we go. And actually, this is all set up to where it's like, it doesn't get emailed me, it gets sent to my terminal in the console output. Now I'm logged in. So this is just like magic link setup. But anyways, yeah, that's basically like the sign-in flow for this darker laid out page. But for my other course platform one, it's the same deal. So if I like sign out there, and then I can go to sign in, here's like a different layout. This also was taken a little bit from Tailkit as inspiration, like this little rounded card idea. Yeah, I don't know, I got it from somewhere, but I can do the same thing here. sign in to check your email. Cool. So then I'll go to this one and I'll click this link instead. And now I am signed in. So yeah, now let's go over maybe some other page here as well. What was it? Was it this one, I think? So this one is not taken directly from Tailkit. I actually wish they had more components that looked like this. But to give you the context of how long something like this took me to make, it was like literally like 3 days, probably. Like, I don't know, was it 3 full days, right? But there was a lot of tinkering to get this set up to look exactly the way I wanted it to, where it was like, this is this section of the course and how many were complete and the hours. And this is all like mocked data, sort of. Like, this is just part of my Docker course, but this is all hard-coded data. There's nothing hooked up to a database yet. But, you can mark the videos as complete. But this layout, oh man, yeah, it took so long to make. Like, so long. And yeah, coming back to here, there's like references as well. So these little headers were also taken from Tailkit, but it was just like combining stuff, right? It's like, there's a horizontal ruler there and there's like a regular header, but let's put an icon next to it. And then there's like, links here as well. So nothing super fancy, but like this little pill thing also was taken from Tailkit. I think that's in their badges maybe. Yeah, the badges here, I just used the one with a little bit of rounding there. And yeah. I don't know if it's a small or medium one. Doesn't really matter, but where was this? Oh, it was over here, wasn't it? Yeah, too many things open. But yeah, I added a little bit more padding on the left just to make it a little, or left and the right versus theirs. But again, that's like one of those things where it's like, go to their default pill, grab this one, and then just add a little like PX3 instead of PX2 or something. But I don't know which one looks better, to be honest. They both probably would work okay. I just felt like the extra padding was a little bit nice. But like going back to the QA one here, this is also another design where I sort of put this one together on my own, just using Tailwind CSS classes, but I definitely looked at a couple of Tailwind or Tailkit things for inspiration. I definitely took their button here, and this idea of having like something floated to the left and the button with the right with the separator on the bottom. I forget which Tailkit thing I took that from, but it was somewhere here. It wasn't like divider. Yeah, I feel like I can spend 5 minutes trying to find it, but it's probably, maybe it's page headings. Yeah, actually it was page headings. It was one of these where, you see how they have text on the left and like the button and something else on the right. Pretty cool layout, but mine, very similar, but there's only one line of text here and one button. So, this is where you need to think like not outside the box or whatever, but sometimes if you don't find something that you directly want, then you can just take something else and just use that as an inspiration with a little bit of minor modifications, right? Because it was super easy just to remove this paragraph on the bottom here and like remove that button. And there we go. We actually have like a button with a little icon there where you can do whatever you want. So, and this is all just like fake data and like nonsense stuff, by the way. But if I click into one of these, this view here is like, if you were to ask a question on the forums for a specific lesson in a course, then this is the layout that you would see here. And yeah, again, this one, I don't think I took from Tailkit anywhere, but it was like the same card idea that was used in Tailkit, and then it was just like basically just making text look reasonable, right? This is actually using the prose feature of Tailwind CSS directly to make like these, headers and the way the lists look and stuff like that, which is pretty interesting. Again, this is like taken from Tailwind CSS's page. It's not like real content or anything like that. And like down here somewhere, I just built a little text area, which is not functional yet, but it'll be a way to write Markdown, and then you can just click preview and see a real-time preview of that as well. But again, yeah, I mean, Tailkit really helped me build some of this stuff. Like this footer, by the way, good example, totally lifted from Tailkit setup as well. So if I go to, I think that would probably be under marketing, wouldn't it be? Sections footer maybe? Yeah, there we go. So there's a whole bunch of different types of footers that you can have. And, interestingly enough, footers are hard to design because it really depends on how much content that you have. So if you have like a couple of links or whatever, like this looks pretty good. If you have a couple of links with socials, that looks pretty good too, right? And that's going to be responsive to like drop down to multiple lines as needed. You can see too, even the font gets a little bit smaller on the smaller ones, which is pretty nice. But if we scroll down here, eventually we're going to reach the one that I used as inspiration here. So we can see we have a couple of socials, a couple links, copyright. And if I go down to here, there's a couple socials, couple links, and copyright. And if I go to this other one here, let me go back to here, same exact setup. Actually, it was this one that I wanted to go to. Yeah, there we go. We can see very, very similar type of setup. That just seems like to be, a nice footer layout, I guess, if you don't have that many links or social links or whatever, and you just want to have your copyright there. So that's basically where that came about. And Anything else to show? Probably not. I mean, there's like interesting things here when it comes to like responsive videos, but that's built into Tailwind CSS, not so much Tailkit. So like if I start to make this window smaller, then this video is going to remain as a 16:9 aspect ratio. And the sidebar eventually is going to, it's getting like super condensed now and like dumb looking, but this is not like a normal breakpoint that you'd ever go to, because eventually that sidebar just goes away. You can see it just like swipes out of there. And that actually now becomes, it becomes a link down here that you can click and see it. But, you know, that's actually not functional at the moment, but that's how it will function. So the sidebar goes away in mobile views, but then it becomes like a tab item there that you can click to check it out, just to make it a little bit easier if you happen to be watching a video on mobile. But yeah, I feel like that is going to do it as like a drive-by of Tailkit. So is it actually worth buying? Like, would I have purchased this if I did get it for free? I mean, for sure, it becomes like a no-brainer. And again, the only reason I haven't did it because I just didn't have a need to actually do it until I decided to resume making my course platform. And, you know, the stars just aligned in that one, and I just happened to be able to get it for free. But yeah, I mean, I put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears of making this type of layout here, but just little simple things like the contact page, you know? Like if it saves me an hour's worth of time, it's totally worth it to buy, you know, either one of these, right? And I feel like the same thing goes with Tailwind UI. Also, it's kind of nice just to, you know, it feels kind of like cheesy to even say this, especially since I didn't buy it with my own money, but it's like, you know, it's kind of nice just to buy these things to help the author out, because if it's something you use and you like and you want it to get better, like why not just support them by buying it? So then it gets better, and then, it just makes your life easier and better. So now let's talk a little bit maybe about the contest. So John, one of the creators of Tailkit, along with his wife here, they gave us 2 free copies to give away. And we talked a little bit about how we can actually do this in a way that seems fair or reasonable or interesting. So we decided that we will give 1 copy away randomly. And all you have to do is comment below in this video, you know, just like my other 10K giveaway video, 10K subscriber one. So all you have to do is comment, and immediately you're going to be entered in. You know, if you want to explicitly make a comment just to like, you know, give feedback on this video or something, but not be entered in, then, you know, you can include that in your comments. You know, it doesn't matter how you say it, just be like, hey, you know, just dropping in to say whatever, not interested in Tailkit, but thanks for the video. I'll just know not to include you. And for the other giveaway, we figured one of the coolest ways to do this one would be, let's say that you have an existing application that either you're looking to build now or you just started building it. And maybe you're in the same position as me, as like you're a developer, not like a hardcore designer. And actually having Tailkit would make your life a lot easier to help build the product that you want. So you can leave a comment to maybe a link to an existing site that you have that you'd like to convert to using Tailkit, or maybe just drop a comment, you know, explaining your situation. And we're just going to pick one based on that. As for the content duration, I am going to post this video on Saturday. We'll let that run for, I don't know, let's say a week, right? A full week of just people commenting or whatever. And I will pick a winner. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a dedicated video to announce the winners on that one, but I will reply to your comment if you happen to win. So make sure to check back, at least on this video, a week later, like on that Saturday, to see if you've won. And, you know, we'll go from there to get the details and, you know, send the license key over and stuff like that. You know, maybe I will make a separate video. I guess we're going to just have to see how it pans out. But in any case, yeah, that is Tailkit. Is it worth buying? I think so. Is Tailwind UI worth buying? Yeah, also I think so, right? Because there's just a lot of things here that you may not get in Tailkit, but you're gonna have to use your discretion on that one. Also, you know, if you're developing like a big application, it's pretty nice to have like a consistent feeling UI. So it would be kind of weird to like mix and match both of them. But I'm sure, you know, since it's just CSS classes at the end of the day, you can always like take something or like a concept from Tailwind UI and just make certain classes look a little bit more consistent with Tailkit. Like for example, you know, if you really like the way Tailkit's buttons look, but you like one of Tailwind UI's like layouts for something, you can just grab the layout from Tailwind UI, bring it over to Tailkit, and just like modify the button to look more like Tailkit so it matches your setup. You know, things like that. With that said, you know, I hope this video helped you get an idea of what it's like to use Tailkit. I'm actually really happy. I'm looking forward to seeing the existing updates. With that said, you know, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up because it helps a lot. If you have any questions about anything, like what it was like to work with Tailkit or whatever, happy to answer any of that in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next video.